Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to your terminal. We're going to create a new Rails project. So remember the command for that is going to be Rails new. In our project name, let's just call this basic CRUD. We're always going to use PostgreSQL. And then we're doing this API flag, which just means, hey, this Rails project is really only going to serve as the backend. We're going to have really no view stuff associated with this Rails app. And I can hit enter on this. While that's running, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to create a GitHub repo for this. Okay, so that's done. So now I can CD into that, whatever I call it, basic CRUD. If I do a git status, just to kind of show you, it doesn't automatically track these files. I think it's just a good habit to always, before we do any code, just do a commit. Let's do our init commit. And then this is I have a remote, so I'm going to add that. And now I can push up to main. Okay. And I'll slack out this repo, so all this stuff will be on GitHub. Maybe I want to show just a quick image of when we're talking about CRUD. And we'll go through a couple of these. So let's just say, here's an example. Where's an image? Let's say I'm doing a model. We're going to be doing like an item model that has like, a name and a price. But let's say I had an app where I'm showing some photos. This is going to be our CRUD table. Now, this is something you are really just going to want to have memorized and know inside and out. Because we'll go through a different example and we'll see the only thing that changes in this table is going to be the name of our model. Like if it's instead of photos, we could have a cars model. Today we're going to do items. So let's just look at this one for the start. So let's say we have an app where we show a list of photos. So, and we're doing CRUD actions. So here are going to be the parts of this. And, honestly, this doesn't really even have to be like Rails. This is going to be very generic for like any backend. If I do so first of all, there's kind of this, I like to think of this as really the menu. This is kind of almost like the in between, like there's a front end, there's a back end. This is kind of like how we communicate between the two. Is this table? So this is where the back end and the front end need to like talk together. So here's the lingo for these two parts: the HTTP verb and the path. First of all, does anyone know what HTTP is?
Hyper something, I can't remember anymore.
I
Hypertext transfer protocol.
Yeah. So what it essentially is, and this is what websites start out with, right? It's HTTP, sometimes with an S, usually with an S now. That's a security thing. This is just a protocol. It's a set of rules for how computers can exchange files with one another, exchange data. So how do we exchange text? So there's just really these four. It's a very, very simple set of rules. There's like these four verbs. We can do a get. So it's kind of like this client response, client's server. So if you're going to your browser, you want to go to Google, you could do a get request to www.google.com. When you type into your browser google.com, you're doing a get request to Google. You're saying, hey, can I get your web page? But you could maybe go to like, I mean, think if this was like google.com/photos, then Google would give you photos. I mean, it's not, that is a very simple analogy, but overly simplified. But what I'm saying here with Rails, let's say we have a photo model. If I do a get to/photos, that takes me to my index method in Rails, and that's going to display a list of photos. If I'm a front-end developer, all I care about, is if I do a get request to/photos, you're going to give me a list of photos. I don't care if you're using Rails, Python, whatever. It's kind of this is really language agnostic. This specific action is for Rails because this is saying, hey, what this will really say is go to the photos controller and go to the index method and give me a list of the photos. There's also, if I do a get photos/new, we're not going to do this with React because we're going to do the form on the front end. But what this would do, this would give you a new form. The back end would be giving you a form to create a photo. But we're not going to do this because our back end is just an API. So we're going to have React create the form. So we actually don't do this route as an API. We could do a post request to photo. That's like I'm on the front end and I need to send it a photo. I can do a get request to photo / and then give it the ID. That's going to show me a specific photo. Once again, we're not going to do an edit because this would just give me back a form to edit a photo. We're going to have React do that when we get to React. So we skip this new and edit methods with our API. But I can do a patch or a put request to photos and then give it an ID that will update a photo. I can do a delete photos and then the ID, and that will delete a photo. And let's just go look at another example. Job, sure. We have a jobs model. I do a get request to jobs. That takes me to the jobs method. What do you think that should return? A list of jobs. I do a post to jobs. That takes me to the jobs create method. That should create a job. We can skip new and edit because we're not going to do those. I do a get request to jobs ID. Take me to the show method. Give me a job. Do a patch or put to jobs ID. Take me to the update method in the jobs controller and update a job. Do a delete request to jobs ID. Go to the jobs controller, go to the destroy method. Destroy the job. It doesn't change, like article. do a get request to articles, do a post request to articles, create an article. See how they're the exact same? The only thing that's going to change is your name of your model. So let's go in our Rails app. We're going to create a model. I'm going to close out of this. So we have our Rails app. Let's go ahead and open this up in code. So I have some model. We're going to do an items model. So think about, we're going to do like a little bit of like what would be maybe a very simplified store where we have items for sale. An item's just going to have a name and a price. So I create my model, Rails G model item. Remember, when I create a model, it's always going to be a singular name. And then I can give it my attributes. We have a name, that's going to be a string. And we have a price, that's going to be a float. Create my model. Let's look at the files that were created. So if I go to my app models, I now have a item model. And here we are extending from application record, which is technically extending from active record. That this is the important one, active record. So just like with that class example I was talking about with humans and animals, this is like our human extending from animal. We are now getting all that functionality that animals have just because humans are animals. So therefore humans know how to breathe, heartbeat, whatever. So we don't even need to add that much here or anything. And now our item model has a whole bunch of stuff associated with it. Now, along with our model, what it really knows how to do is it knows how to talk to the database. So the model is not the database table. The model is the thing that knows how to talk to the database. If I go to this DB file, I see I have this migration file. This tells me how to create this items table. This has a name and it has a price. And I'm saying, hey, give it some timestamps, which will tell me whenever I created something or whenever I updated it. Notice how I don't have a schema file. The schema is going to show me what my database looks like. The reason, even though I've created a model, the reason why I don't have that schema is I always, after I create a model, I need to run a migration, what's called the migration. So I do a Rails. I actually need to create my database first. That's the first thing I need to do when I create a Rails app. I just need to do that once. And then if I create a model, I need to do a DB migrate. Cool. Now, if I would go back and look at this, now I have a schema.rb file. And I have this items table that has a name and a price. Now, if you look at the comments on this, it says, this is auto-generated. Yeah, it says you never directly edit this file. This is a good way to come and it's a good thing to look at to see what your database looks like. But updating this isn't going to change your database. It said, if you want to edit this file, please use migrations. So some other things, let's say I misspelled something and I want to delete my model. I could do a Rails D model for D for delete item. That goes through that would remove all my database stuff, you know, Rails. That removes all those files. I don't know if that's gonna like, that might still be in my schema. It goes through it, removes my files. I still have this items in there in my schema, but I've removed all of those files. And then I could regenerate that Rails G model item, recreate it. And then a Rails DB migrate. Items already exist, so if I wanted to, I could. If you ever want to just destroy your database, you can do a Rails DB drop. That will like destroy your database. You can do a DB create and DB migrate. So you can also run these in line, like in one line. So I'm saying, hey, destroy my database, create it, and then migrate it. There's my model. So with my model, I could come in here, I could do a Rails C. And I can, Rails C pulls up a Ruby console, but it also puts you in the context of your Rails project. So I have like item, like is defined. That is my item model. See how it has a capital I? So I can do item dot, you know, create. And I can give it a name, like tacos. And then the price, $12.99. That creates it to the database. So I can do like item dot first. Here's my first item in my database. I want to show you this. So instead of doing item.create, and I'm going to store this to a variable. Let's call it I1 for item 1. Let's call this nachos. Instead of doing create, I'm going to do item.new. All right. And I do item 1. So it is an item. I can do item1.class or I1.class. That is a of the item class. I do item.class.class. Do .class.class on this. Oh, that's just a class. Okay. I think that's as far as up it's going to go. I do one.class. And kind of in Ruby, this is what like everything's an object. It's kind of like everything is class. Its class is eventually going to be a class. Anyway, what if I look at item 1 now? So I did item1.new. Do you think this is saved to the database? There's like a couple signs that kind of give me the answer. The big one is the ID. There's no ID. If there's no ID, it's not saved to the database. The other thing is there's no created at or updated at. But the ID is the big one. So, and this is kind of another distinction. I have this I1 variable in memory. It's not in my database. Memory and like storage are different things. Does everyone know the difference? Like just at a high level when we're like talking about computers and you like go buy a Mac and it's like, oh, it has this much memory and this much storage. Like aren't those kind of sound like they're the same thing, right? Does anyone know the difference?
I always think of it as short-term memory, long-term memory.
That's a
That's
good,
how I think of it.
that's a good way to think of it. Yeah, your memory is like the short-term memory. Your storage is the long-term memory. I think another good distinction to add into that is like your memory, especially within like coding and like the context of like an application, your memory is like when the application's running. The second you close your application, that memory is going to be gone. The stuff in memory is going to be gone. Another way to think about it, it's like when you turn off your computer, your memory's gone, but your storage is persistent. So storage is there for, without power. Memory is only there when your app is running, and obviously you need power for that. So I have a variable in memory, but this information is not stored to the database. And this is how we're going to do it in Rails. We're going to do, when we create an item, we're going to do this item.new first. We're not going to say item.create. We're going to create a new variable in memory, and then we're going to call a save method on it. Now, if I look at item 1, now it has an ID. So the save method saves it to the database. So why do this like extra step? Well, I can come in here and I can do like an item.create. Oh, that was successful. I created an item. It doesn't have a name and it doesn't have a price. I don't know if that really makes sense, right? So that allows someone to create an item in our database if it doesn't have a name or a price, right? So what I can do is I can come in here. I can go to my item model. And I can add, it's called a validation. So this is actually like a Rails method here. I'm going to do validates. And I want to validate name. And I'm going to say the presence is true. I can never remember. Presence is true. So what this is saying, this is going to be a validation. So this will run and make sure name is present before it saves to database. I have to look this other one up. I can never spell, like we could also do something like this. We could validate our price. I forget what it is. I have numericality true. Let me just double check that that's what it is. I kind of just want to validate that it's a number. And to show you, like I'm on this active record validations on my Rails helper, on the Ruby on Rails guide. So remember, our item is an active record object. And something the active record gives us is it gives us validation. So we can validate, like they accepted a terms of service. We can validate, like they have confirmed their email. We can validate, what's the more one? We can do like certain formats, like does this match it? Does this string you gave me match a certain format? I could do something like, you give me it needs to be a specific value. This one would say like, hey, the value needs to be small, medium, or large. If you give me any other value, I'm not going to do it. Can do a length. This needs to be between 6 and 20 characters. Yeah, numeral. I thought, didn't I spell that right? Numericality. I didn't spell that right. You could just see that something is a number. Maybe I'd want to do like greater than 0 because it's a price. It probably doesn't make sense to have an item be a negative price. But these are just some like you can essentially validate anything. So this is a nice way, you validate stuff before you save it to your database. And once again, Rails is going to do this kind of behind the scenes and makes it nice and easy for us to, write this pretty understandable code, right? So once again, there's Rails is a beast. There's just so much you can do with the Rails. So once again, it's kind of with everything else, it's really relying on documentation. Because if you come up to me and you're to ask me, hey, is there a way to do this validation? I don't even know what you're going to ask. I would probably say yes. I'm sure there's a way to kind of figure something out. Cool. So now that I have this in my item model, I do need to reset my console for this. So I need to exit and like step back into it. So like reloads the changes. But let's do a new item and let's not give it a price. See, it's not saved to the database. Let's try to save it. See how that's saying false? And I do I1. That wasn't saved to the database. If I did like I1 dot price equals, 1 dot. If let's do like equal a string. Try to save that. That's false because I said it has to be a number. Okay, let's make it a number. I1 dot save. Now I can save it. Just to show you this, when I tried to save it, I could do something like, let's just store what happens, or no, let's just save it. Sorry, I'm going to save it, but then I can do something like this. I can do I1 dot errors dot full messages. Saying, hey, price is not a number. Nil is because nil is not a number. So that's my validation. If I don't give it like a name, try to save it. See, it's telling me, hey, name can't be blank and price is not a number. So it's going to fail. It's not going to save to the database, but then it's also going to give me these responses. And then if it doesn't save, it returns false. Cool. All right. So that's creating. I could also do like I1 equals, item dot first. I could call like the update method. Say like and change something in here. That was successful. I changed the name to changed. If I go in and I try to update item 1 and I do name is a blank string, that would not be successful. So it works on both creating to my database and the validations are also going to work on updating. It's not going to allow me to update my name to be an empty string. So because if I do I1 dot error or whatever that errors.full message again. Where is it? Item 1. Oh, item 1 is, oh, oops. Something I tried to do here. What is the difference? Let's look at this. I did this. This is kind of a no-no. Item.update name versus item1.update name. What is the difference between those two? I mean, they both don't work, but let's yo. What did that do? Now notice I'm calling, this is the distinction between the class method and the instance method. I'm calling update on the class. What did that do? It updated all of my items. It updated all of their names to yo. I probably didn't want to do that, right? What if I do item.first.update? That's just going to change the first item because now I'm calling it item.first is the item. That's the first item. So it's an instance of the item class. So if I call the update method on that, it's only going to change that one. So item.all. How did I do that? That's not. Oh, I had this. I think I had this in my database before I added the validation. Remember how I was like, dude, how did I get a name and price with nil values? Or remember I created one before I added the validation in my item model. But now I changed the name of my first item. Cool. So class methods versus instance method. That's a key thing I'm going to just keep on drilling. All right. Another way we can kind of change our database, because what happens if I just want to like, man, I don't like all this dummy data. I want to come in here and I want to like drop my database and, you know, recreate it because I kind of don't like that nil value in there. So I'm going to drop it and I'm going to seed it. Or sorry, we haven't talked about that. I'm going to recreate it. But now I got to go step into Rails console again, run some commands to create some items. There's another way we can create some dummy data, and that's with our seeds file. So think about what a seed is. I can like seed my database. I can put in some dummy data. So right here, this is just a Ruby file. I can come in here and I can create some items. Okay, name. You know what? Let's just do a couple of them. Let's do taco and price, $12.99. And shoes, $122. Now I can come in here. I can do a Rails DB seed now. Now if I step into my Rails console, item.all. So I can write some Ruby code inside of here and you know, create some fake data, which can be very useful for development. Cool. Because what this allows me to do is now I can always just like like I can also run this command reset, Rails DB reset. That will like restate the set of my state of my database. And if I have a seeds file, it will like rerun my seeds file. So it's kind of a good way to clear and like regenerate your database when you're developing. Cool. Questions on models? All right, I'm going to do a git add dot and a git commit. I'm going to just call this item model. Okay. So the next thing we're going to need, whenever you create a model, for now, we're going to create a controller that goes along with that model. So if I have and it's always the same, you're always going to have a singular model and a plural controller. So I could have like a food model and then a foods controller, a car model, a cars controller. I have an item model. Let's create a item controller. So I'm going to do Rails G controller. As a convention, I'm going to append this with API. This is going to like throw this in an API folder. And then I'm going to call this the items controller. All right. So now I have my controller. That's in my API folder, items controller. So in the items controller, when we look at, if I do like a Rails CRUD, let's just see. Any of these? Let's get like let's go to the jobs one. Why the controller is important? This is where I'm going to define all these methods. So I'm going to define a index method, a create method. We're going to skip the new and edit. We're going to do a show, update, and destroy. For any model. And then we need to match these paths. So let's do this. Let's kind of just do, let's kind of go from this at like a broken angle. I think we can just start up our server and kind of go through the errors. So I'm going to do a Rails S -P 3001. And then let me go to the like README of this. I just so items API. I would like type this out as a go to your README and type this out and just like say it in your head. Like, so if we're going to have the first thing is going to be our request. So I'm going to do a get request to /items, right? So that would be, someone goes to localhost 3001/items. That's what I mean by this /items. And this is actually HTTP. Whatever that is, I can't remember. Is that how it looks? I don't know why they made that so funky looking, but right, if we go to this website and I go to /items, so this is a get request to items. Should go to my items controller. To the, we'll call this the index method. Let's do a little pound like that. And that should give me a list of items. Let's do a Command C, Command V. If I do a get request to items /:ID, remember this : ID can be anything. Someone could go to items/ASDF, and that would take me to my items controller to my show method. And that grabs me one item. But yeah, they should hopefully give me an actual ID. Does that make sense? Maybe. All right, someone does a post request. It's going to look the same as the GET request. The only thing that's going to be different is I'm doing a post request, a post to /items. Create an item. And I'm going to put like a little note here. Need to send item data. Right? I'm doing on the client, it's like if you're creating a Facebook or like an Instagram comment or something, you need to give it the actual stuff from the form, right? So it's like the client needs to send the item data. All right, okay, copy this. If I do a put, we're gonna gloss over patch. We're just gonna use put requests. Items ID, that goes to my items controller to the update method. And that updates an item. Once again, with this one, I need to send the data, right? Generally speaking. You could maybe toggle something with an update, but generally we need to do that. Does it make sense why our update needs an ID and why our create does not need an ID? If you're creating something, how is there going to be an ID? If you're updating something, yeah, you better give me the ID of the thing to update. All right, and then we have one more. If we do a delete request to items ID, that goes to my items controller to the, I never know why it's the destroy method. Okay, I always get it confused. It is the destroy method. And that deletes an item. It's like, couldn't they just use the same word? So. Really, if this is why you really need to know this, memorize this, because if this is if we're doing a taco app, just find replace just the word item with taco. That's all I have to do, right? So you really want to know this pretty well. Sweet. So I can switch that back. And you'll get a lot of practice with this. This will become very repetitive. Okay. So let's kind of go through these one at a time, just so we can see exactly what's going on here. And I'm kind of gonna do some test-driven development. So I'm gonna go through the errors first, and then we'll fix the code line by line. So if I go to localhost 3001, let's just first go there. That gives me some actual HTML, but I don't want that. I want my items. So I go to /items. Okay, so the first error we get is no route matches items. So I did a get request to items. Cool. and that's an error. So what I need to do is I need to go to my routes files. So Command P to search for a file, and then I can start typing routes. And go to this routes.rb. This is also, if you can't find it, this is going to be in your app, in your config, right there, routes.rb. And we're going to do a namespace API do end. Now I showed you on Monday, we could do this, resources items. Just, and then yeah, I could go to any route. By doing that resources, that namespace API items, well, now it's, I have this, I have a path, a get. Oh yeah, I'm also, sorry, I forgot. We're appending this with API, just as a little bit of a convention. So I need to go to API items. Now that's there. But notice how I have this get request. This is something we're added, this API items. And that goes to my items controller to the index method. Likewise, tacos, cars. See how it's following just this basic convention. We do have one thing where we're adding like this API slash. We're just adding API in front of that, in front of everything. So technically, I could fix this like this, slash items to be slash API slash items. Just putting a slash API in front of everything. And we'll see, this is nice once we start working with React, because then we'll know like what is an API call, what is like a React router path. It kind of helps make that distinction. And then also when you're looking at this in a URL, you're like, oh, this is just going to give me back some JSON versus like an HTML page. Cool. So I kind of showed you this shortcut, but we're not going to do that for now. We're going to hard code this to get better, to really, like I said, just muscle memory this. So here's how we do this in Rails. I do the HTTP verb. I do the path. I do not need to do API slash because I'm in this namespace. That will do that for me. Okay, that goes to, so it's the verb, the path, and then I tell it where to go. I'm saying, hey, go to the items controller to the index method. And let me just, because I'm going to comment this out really quick. I'm going to hit and go to localhost API slash items. Just so we can get back to that, like can't find this path. So no route matches. Comment this out. Now we have a route. Now it's like this is on my menu. On my menu, I have a get request to API items dish. So let's go ahead and hit refresh. So even though now it's on my menu, but now it's like it doesn't know how to make it because there's not that method there. So it's like the index method could not be found in the items controller. Okay, so let's go to the items controller and let's define the index method. This is, if I open this up in a new page, this is really just giving me that 204. It's like no content. It's like successful, but like, hey, this really doesn't do anything. Remember, this is where we want to render JSON item.all. Click refresh. Oh, let's go back to here, hit refresh. Undefined method JSON. So see it's hitting there. I forgot a or colon right there. And there we go. Method by first API call is working to get my items. Let's go ahead and do the next one. So I have items with ID 1 and 2. So let's do /1. A get request to API items. So I don't have a match for that. Okay, I need to go to my routes. Do a get to items. And then the ID. That should take me to my items controller, to the show method. Just the convention. Okay, I hit refresh. The action show cannot be found. Okay, so it knows about the menu item, but it doesn't know about the method. So we need to go define the method. Show and let me just do another dash here so we can. So I'm going to do a dash. I'm going to hit refresh. See, it started a get request. I have some parameters. See how it says the ID going to 1. So that I'm getting that ID 1. If I do like tacos in here or whatever and hit refresh. Oh, that didn't like that for some reason, like save that. Okay. I think I need to do this. Just type it completely out. Localhost 3001 API/items / whatever. If I go to this, look at my log, my parameters, the ID is whatever that thing is behind that slash. So I just need to make sure that's an actual ID of an actual item. To find that, I can do this item equals item.find params ID. And I could just show you right here, puts params. So you can use these puts messages and look at them in your server. So let's go ahead and refresh this. The action show cannot be found in my items controller. Here's my show method. It's like not refreshing. Okay, yeah, I'm getting a 204, but like I can do my params yo. So when I log params is just a hash. And I can grab the ID right there. And then I can use that ID to find the item. And then I can render JSON item. Let's go ahead and refresh. There's 1, there's 2. If I do 3, I get an error. Can't find item with ID 3 because I don't have that in my database. Cool. All right, so what time is it? I think. Let's do this and then we'll take a break. So when I'm in Chrome or a browser and I go to a website and I type in the website and I hit enter, it automatically does a GET request. So how, this kind of leaves me with a problem, right? How do I do a create? Because how do I do a update or delete? Right? I can't really do this with Chrome in an easy way. So what we're going to do is we're going to download a tool that's going to allow us to do this. So go ahead and go to Google and look for Postman. And go to download Postman. And yeah, I guess it has ones for different chips. So if you have the M1 chip, do the Apple chip. If you have an Intel chip, do this one. And does someone want to share their screen? I kind of forget what this looks like when you first download it.
I can.
Cool.
I'll try it.
I think I remember it kind of being a little hard to. And your internet is slow.
Yeah. Telling me. Well, I've got company too, and they're upstairs working. So
What are you at, like 3 megabits a
I
second?
don't know right now. It's ridiculous. I don't even dare run the speed test.
Yeah, it looks like it's like 2 or like 3 seconds, 3 megabits.
Mine says Postman is not supported on this Mac.
You might have downloaded the wrong one based on your chip. All right.
This is what it pulled up. This one.
Yeah, go ahead, open that up.
I like the logo, the flying man.
Yeah, it's a cool app. Yeah, go ahead, click open. Yeah, sure, move to applications folder. It's taking its sweet time.
Yeah, the dude's just hopping down here.
There we go. Oh, almost.
Got something going in the middle.
Yeah, go ahead and create a free account. Just not
I
let
don't know
you
what it's
just
doing now.
hate when they don't. So just go ahead, sign in. Okay. Can you go there now to the app?
Oh, it just opened it in a different window.
Yeah, it should be its own application. And then, oh my gosh.
He's gonna have us do everything. Back end?
Whatever you want.
Sure, we'll do that. This is the top one.
Just go continue without team. This is other people. You can skip
Oh.
this part. Just say that blue continue without team. I don't know this. Okay. Oh my God. Just say I know how to use Postman. All right. So this is the part where I try going to APIs on the tab. Click.
Over here. Or
It's on the
here?
left. On the left. On the left sidebar.
Up there.
What about environments? I forget the thing we have to. Okay, try workspaces.
Oh, workspaces. Where's that one? Right there.
It's up at the top. Just yeah, I don't know. Type dem something here.
It's my workspace.
Create.
That's what it pulls up.
Where the hell is it? I always forget.
API network.
Just yeah, go to my works. Go to workspaces. Just say taco. I don't. Or create a workspace. Yeah, call this whatever. They have like made this so much more. I go to workspace. Nope, that's not it. API network. What the hell? Where is it? Dude, mine is like so much different than yours. What happens if you hit the plus button? So by the by top where it says taco and there's a plus button.
Create a mock server.
I think I just need to like, this is so much different than mine. Postman quit. Let me kind of show you where you're supposed to be.
You want me to stop sharing?
Actually, do explore. Wait, what if we hit explore on the top?
Yeah.
If you go home, what if you click home? Why the hell? Okay, yeah, just close out of that. Can you do send a request? Can you click that send a request button? Yay. Oh, God. Oh my God. Okay, that here it is. This is where you need to be. So you go home and then send a request. Sweet.
You want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing there. All right. Okay. So I can go ahead and share my screen. Already done. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think mine's gonna look a little different, But you go to that home and then send a request. And you should you want this part right here where you can do, you can select the verb and then you can type in the URL. So I can do a get request to API/items. I can hit send. There we go. And then I can do an APIs. I can do a get request to API/items and then 1. And I can just do that one. But yeah, we'll see. We'll be able to do a post, delete, and all those other ones too here. But for now, I want to get everyone just to have Postman and to get to this page. So if you're here, you can take a break. Let's just call it come back at 12:15. If you're having trouble downloading this or trouble getting here, I'll stick around and help. Is anyone not here? You're going to need this for your homework today.
It has less to do with the limitations imposed on them and more to do
Cool.
with the shortcomings. The Chinese Navy does not yet have a blue water.
We'll see you back at 12:15 if there's no questions.